Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I extend you a very warm welcome to today's online workshop on how to leverage creators on Instagram to move business outcomes, an initiative by etbrandequity.com and Instagram. For today's session, we have with us Ankita Rojinder, Client Solution Manager, Facebook India. Ms. Rojinder is a sales and marketing professional with over 10 years of experience in brand and category management across FMCG, retail, and media. In her current role with Facebook India as a client solutions manager and a platform expert on FMCG and earlier on the automotive business, she consults global businesses building their marketing strategies on the Facebook family of apps. She also comes with a deep understanding of the Instagram platform and works very closely with branded content teams globally within Facebook. Ms. Rojinder has been at the forefront of helping clients across industries test and learn and find value in branded content solutions on Instagram. Welcome, Ms. Rojinder.
Thank you, Baisakhi. That was a very, very nice introduction. In fact, some of the things stated there, I'm surprised by myself. Hi, everyone. I think we've got a great chance to talk to you all about some of the interesting work that we've been doing at Facebook and Instagram around creator and branded content solutions. And without taking too much time, I think we will jump on to what we have to present to you today. And then we will leave some time in the end for question and answers. I'm sure it's a new concept. It's something that is new on the platform as well. So there'll be a lot of curious minds out there. And let's delve into it. Hi, everyone. And again, picking up from where we left off, where are we looking at audiences in this day and age when everyone is working from home, when everyone is so digitally connected? Where is the audience residing at? And today I'm going to talk about one of the platforms that is probably the most exciting place for any consumer, any brand to be on, and that's Instagram. Jumping on to what we're going to talk to you guys today about is why we feel that Instagram as a platform has great potential in terms of talking to your consumers, talking in different and creative ways to your consumers about, and as well as where do we see this connection of creators and influencers whose home is almost Instagram as a platform, and where can we connect that along with our consumers and brands. So I'll jump into the first thing and giving a little bit of context as to how things have evolved in terms of the platform, the way consumers consume digital, express themselves, etc. So everything has actually changed and it's become a little bit different. From just a photograph on my mobile phone, now I have shifted to an audio-visual medium, right? Everything, all of my memories are in forms of stories, right? Are in forms of maybe posts that I'm putting up with my friends on Instagram. So slowly and surely, the consumer is also evolving in terms of their media choices, in terms of their expression choices. And this is where Instagram comes in with multiple, I would say, surfaces, right? Ranging from my Instagram post feed to my stories, and now the latest and the most exciting part, which is Reels in this matter. And to that, what is Instagram giving to that consumer? So with all these surfaces, we're trying to give the consumer a place where they can visually express themselves, right? Instagram as a platform is a place where consumers are seeking visual expression more than anything else. And it starts off from, following someone who has a passion for photography or following someone who has a passion for makeup. And all of that ties into the topic that we're going to talk about today, and that is influencers. It's about creators. It's about trustworthy experts in their fields who can definitely give a more authentic voice to the brands today. A little bit more about Instagram. Of course, we're Facebook, we're a data-driven company, so we would like to talk about the kind of scale and reach that we provide. and close to around 1 billion uh, monthly active accounts. And that's how we look at consumers who are actively participating, actively expressing themselves on Instagram. And that's a worldwide number. Of course, India numbers are little less, but definitely very, very scalable. What and why does a consumer stay onto Instagram? And of course, people use Instagram in variety of ways, right? When we did this survey back in 2019, when we were all out and about in our offices on ground doing researches, we found that there were 3 or 4 very key things why consumers love to be on Instagram, and they think that this is what Instagram provides me. So starting with the first one, of course, which allows interaction with celebrities. And you will see this playing up again and again, because celebrities are now not only just Bollywood stars or cricket or sports enthusiasts, but they are evolving into influencers. They're evolving into creators who are themselves celebrities in their own accord. They might be fashion influencers, they might be sports, or they might be even food influencers who are now very much a part of the entire Instagram ecosystem. The second thing, of course, is about features, right? Like I said, the way of visual expression, whether it is in terms of reels, whether it is in terms of stories, that's what makes it more exciting for me. And of course, you have filters which you can play around with. All of that adds to the experience on the platform, and that's why the consumers are here to stay on Instagram. The third thing is, of course, the brand of Instagram itself, right? And what it provides. It gives the consumer an ability to keep up to date or to be trendy in that manner. And that you will see in subsequent slides playing out for brands as well. Like, how does a platform like Instagram has a halo effect on the brand? And that's something that has been measured. That's something that we've seen, that people consume or people perceive brands which are present on Instagram to be more cool, more trendy in terms of their positioning. And of course, the last one is it allows interaction with the brands directly. You would be surprised to see that consumers actually feel empowered when they get a direct channel to talk to brands. And some of the examples here will also show you that. And of course, the last one, which is allows interaction with, or allows direct interaction and deep engagement with influencers. And why all of these choices? Because Instagram is seen as a platform where people tap into their interests, right? I follow a certain passion and I can see that panning out on Instagram very well. And that's why I'm so active on Instagram. So, for example, here are some numbers which will help you understand the magnanimity of this thing. So, 63% of Indians say that I follow technology as a passion point on Instagram as a platform. Some say that they follow fashion, followed by music, followed by travel, and all of that will actually translate into them consuming more content around these topics. So, if we are a brand which is akin to any of these categories, it makes even more sense for us to have organic presence on the platform and ensure that we're making great, dynamic, exciting content which the consumer can then engage with. And then the caveat that I was talking about, which is people in India are actually embracing the chance to talk to businesses. So if you would see the last number, and that's what I would like to call out here, is that 90% of Indians on Instagram actually follow a business. Now, that's something that brands have always been struggling with. They've always been wanting to, I as a marketer have been wanting that somebody should follow, like, deeply engage with my brand. But I've never found a correct platform or a platform which allows me to do that very naturally. While Instagram is one platform in which most of the people who follow or who have an interest in a particular brand actually go ahead and take that action and follow that brand very, very diligently. that's something that as a brand marketer would interest me very much. And then last thing is on Instagram's positioning and Instagram and what it brings to the brand itself, right? The halo effect of the brand Instagram. And by just sheer presence on the platform, what is it that you get? You get to be more popular, you get to be more entertaining, you are seen as more creative, and you are seen as a more informative brand. And this is all from the horse's mouth. This is all consumer data, which is telling us that if an X brand is present on Instagram, I will perceive it as more popular, as more entertaining, and more informative. Beyond that, I think for the marketer or for the brand marketer, it also makes sense to see whether your consumer is actually going through that journey on the platform. So we all talk about full funnel marketing, right? We all talk about how do you take the consumer from top funnel by building brand awareness to mid funnel building consideration, and then finally, to the last leg, to a purchase journey. So in that sense, we have seen that on Instagram, we see consumer going through the entire funnel. It's not just a nice visually expressive platform, but it also helps you build and move brand metrics. It helps you build consideration, and you would be surprised to see that there are also purchase and conversion actions which are taken on the platform. These are some of the other categories that we talk about, saying the actions and people that they're taking around a product or a service on Instagram. What all could it be, right? So on online, if a person is searching for information on a brand, chances are, or 94% chances are, that they will turn up on Instagram as a platform and look or search for your brand. Next to that, next level of research which a consumer does is probably visiting a brand's website or an app in today's day and age. 84% chances are that anyone who has seen your brand on Instagram will be visiting your website and app through your Instagram, either your handle or through any ad campaign that you have done. That's a very interesting thing to see, because as you see consumer researching you on the platform, there's a next action also which they're taking. And then finally, 71% of them who actually saw your ad, have visited your profile or your brand or app's website, have actually made that purchase. So just to complete the entire circle here, it would go to say that a consumer is starting a discovery for your brand on the platform, going ahead and searching or landing at a page where you're providing him more information, him or her more information, and then finally maybe coming back to the platform and taking that action, that final sales purchase action that you would want him to take. And so that's the entire uh, section in which we covered and we talked about why does your audience love to be on Instagram? What does on Instagram give to the audience or to your consumers? Second, we talked about what is it that Instagram provides to a brand, right? From a halo effect to actually helping you take the consumer through a purchase journey on the platform. So those are the two very big things that we wanted to start off with to give you an understanding of how Indian consumers are behaving on Instagram as a platform. And all those numbers, everything that I had mentioned earlier has taken or derived from a study which we had done in 2019 with the help of Ipsos. And it's based on Indian consumers' behavior. So that's very much relevant to the Indian brand marketer. Now, coming on to what else does a consumer do on Instagram? And I'm going to deep dive now into the more relevant topic for today, which is about creators, which is about influencers, and how does that pan out for a consumer. So the one thing that really stood out for us in that entire study is that 64% of Indian consumers said that they come to Instagram to interact with creators and influencers. Now, that's something that stands out in itself because it shows that the platform is seen as a channel of communication. It is seen as a channel where I get either influenced by a certain creator or I seek for more information or more communication from the brand or from the influencer. And that's why I think before we move into the entire product driven conversation around branded content ads, this was, I think, a very important metric to just point out here. Now comes the part where we talk about how do you connect then with these people? How do you connect with the consumers who are so very well engaged, who are probably following the same passion point as your own category? And how do you get to a stage where you can talk to them directly in more innovative ways? And simple answer is, of course, creators plus brand, which is branded content. And what does that give you? I'm sure we've all been doing and delving into influencer marketing for the longest time. But this entire exercise that Facebook and Instagram has come with, which is around branded content ads, it goes to say that we would like to bring as a platform, especially Instagram, more transparency into the system, a more measurability to the kind of interactions or partnerships that we're doing with these influencers. And of course, in terms of the content or the communication creativity that we have, how do we mix and match what a brand does best and what an influencer or a creator can do for you? And how does that differentiate your communication vis-a-vis any other brand's communication? So here, the three things that we see very clearly between people, which is your consumers, creators and influencers, as well as businesses, is number one, time well spent. If there is good content on the platform, which is created by influencers and creator, chances are that consumers will spend more time on our platform. And what we've seen from historic data, that has been the case, right? The more influencers and creators have magical content up on the platform, the more we see time spent on our platform going up. The second one is, of course, shared identity between consumers and between brands or businesses. What is it that connects businesses and people, right? It is something that is shared between them. Either it is a positioning or an ideology of a brand, or it is a benefit or a uniqueness that a brand offers, which solves some of our very common everyday consumer problems. That's the shared identity that we have, which we can provide on the platform with brands and consumers together. And the last one, which is around branded content ads and very much central to it, is called mutual brand building. Now, between a creator and a business, how do we go about forming that partnership? How do we think about taking a creator or an influencer and mixing them and blending them in with our brand campaigns? And that's the mutual brand building that happens through the platform. The content is made with that shared vision of what the creator's personality, creator's attitude, creator's content provides to the brand, and in turn, what the brand's positioning is adding on to the creator or influencer himself. Now, branded content, simply put in very product centric or Instagram specific centric terms, we define it as any creator or publisher's content on Instagram which features that particular creator or an influencer and is also in partnership with a business partner or is also in a partnership with a brand. And this is usually done by an exchange of value. See here, I think we're trying to be more transparent because we feel and we think that the consumer deserves to know if there is a partnership that exists between a brand as well as a consumer, a brand as well as an influencer or a creator. And that's what we want to highlight even as a product channel, even as a platform specific. Here, if you see this example, it's Virat Kohli with a very well-known brand. I will not name the brand because they haven't really asked us to shout it out loud. But the simple tag of paid partnership with, those three words is what differentiates us from any other branded content ad in the entire digital ecosystem. And that's the transparency value that we bring onto the table. And with that transparency value comes a lot many advantages. And I'll talk about them just in a bit. So talking about branded content, I'll take an example of how usually influencer marketing works on the platform. So if I am partnering with, say, X influencer, and I have designed a campaign with them, chances are that if they organically post from their own Instagram handle, I will be reaching out to that influencer's followers. So whether that influencer's followers are my target audience or not, I am unsure, but it somewhat aligns with my brand's positioning. Hence, I think I should be targeting them. And that's the small subset that you reach out to. While in your normal media planning, what you do is you have a very sharp, focused, defined target audience on the platform that you design in a ecosystem of ads manager, and that helps you deliver the media plan, which is predictable, which is deterministic, and gives you the required brand-led lift or result which we promise on the platform. Now, when you combine these two, right, with a organic influencer campaign, the audience that you will reach is only a sliver or a part of these two sets. So there'll be an intersection of audiences which are also the creators' audiences, as well as somewhat lie in your target audience group. And hence there'll be a very small amount of people who are relevant and you will reach out to them. Now, this is in an organic influencer marketing setup. How branded content ads changes this equation is by changing the method in which we deliver your campaigns. And that happens when you choose branded content ads as a delivery or a way of delivery on your campaigns. Your partnership with the influencers remains the same, right? Your content and your communication with the influencers remains the same. The beauty is that you are still using the original post that the influencer puts out from their own Instagram handle. So it does not look like a branded post. It still looks like an influencer's organic post. But what else? The good part is that you reach out to the audience that you have decided. So if a brand has a particular target audience, through branded content ads handshake, which we call in terms of the partnership with the influencers, you are able to decide the campaign as any other media plan that you do. So in that sense, you will be able to define the objective of your campaign, whether it is reach, whether it is brand awareness, whether it is video views, whether it is app installs, and you will be able to define the target audience that you want. So whether it is your age, demographic, behavioral, whether it is your custom audience, whether it is your lookalike audience, every option of targeting, every option of objective decision making available on your normal media campaign planning is also available then on a branded content ad. And what does that make? That makes your campaign more relevant. It makes your campaign measurable. It helps you show ROI of the influencer campaign that you've been driving so far, so long. And at the end, you will be able to prove as to what value is that partnership, that brilliant, great, creative partnership that you have with an influencer and a creator that gives to the brand at the end of the day. That's the difference between a branded content which is organic in nature or influencer marketing which is organic in nature, and what does branded content ads which is paid in nature, which helps you do media planning best practices onto a campaign. That's the 2 points of differences in that. Coming on back to how we see branded content playing out on the platform, we want it to be a mix of both organic as well as paid. So when we're talking about organic partnership, we would still want you to have a handshake or a paid partnership understanding with the influencer or creator, but ensure that your creative, your communication is in line with your brand's expectation. And the second part to it all would be the paid part. The paid part is where branded content ads would come in. And here we would help you to devise a media plan which will be according to your KPIs, your brand goals, and which will be measurable at the end so that we can show you the ROI that the platform can provide. Of course, then coming on to a level below this, which is how do you then decide which funnel or which part of the funnel does my campaign work on? Influencer marketing as such works through and through the funnel. And that's something that we have seen across industries. It's not just one or two vertical or industry phenomena, ranging from FMCG to technology to automotive. It is definitely worked in at least one of the marketing funnels. And we'll have further examples to elucidate that to you guys. So when we talk about awareness, consideration, transaction, and then finally loyalty, or how we call it as retention and advocacy, we see it in terms of what does it do for the consumer, right? Awareness for a consumer means excite me. Consideration is convince me as to why I should be buying your product and not something else. Transaction is where we make the chance of taking an action towards, a positive chance of taking an action towards a brand easier for the consumer. So make it easy for me to reach out to you, make it easy for me to interact with you, make it easy for me to finally go ahead and transact and get the purchase. And then the final one is around retention and advocacy, which is connect with me, reward me, build that loyalty chain with me, which will help me see that you value me at the end of the day. For a brand, how does it translate? For a brand, it simply means awareness is building your brand, building awareness, building top of mind recall at the time of consideration of purchase is what awareness means for a brand marketer. Consideration simply means going deeper in terms of range, going deeper in terms of product portfolio. Building consideration through and through for the brand is what we help do in the mid funnel. The third is, of course, in transaction, wherein we are inspiring or we are giving avenues for consumers to take that final action of purchase. And then, of course, the last one is all about strengthening your connections with the consumer. I'm going to now take a few examples of how we've done this with brands, and this will range across industries, like I said. Starting with one of my favorite examples, in fact, so awareness and building your brand. This is all about product launches. It could be about new product ranges introduction. It could also be about renovation. It could also be about talking something new about your brand, which you would have earlier not done. And as seasons change, as we step into the festive season or with seasonality, there must be something different, something new that we're talking about, and we would want to make the consumer aware of it. In this example, it was a launch of one of the new cars from Hyundai, and they used a range of influencers, starting from influencers who were from the automotive specific category, right? They were specialists in their field, and ranging to someone who is a popular figure, ranging to someone who is seen as a youth icon, and how and why would they want to use the particular brand and the model of the car. So in essence, what they did is they figured different set of interests or different audience interests, ranging from fashion to youth icon to tech gadget gurus to somebody who's an automotive enthusiast, and tried to marry that with the influencer choices that they made, and finally came out with a campaign which panned across, starting from the launch day till they came out with the particular model in all the cities in India. Similarly, you will see that same thing happening for Cadbury's Silk. Now, we all know that Cadbury's has been doing some great, in fact, entire Mondelez brand has been doing some great advertising on the platform, on ours as well as on competition platforms. Where we really applaud them is the way they're looking at, using influencers not only for product specific conversations. They also talk about certain causes that they or purpose that a brand carries. So they're using the influencer's voice to carry that brand purpose across. If I am a consumer and I find a influencer's or a creator's voice more trustworthy than the brand, then why not use that, right? And of course, the third example here is of Puma, a very disruptive creative execution. So while you're using an influencer, nothing stops us from being creative. Nothing stops us from being utilizing the platform in the best way possible, right? Within the brand guidelines. If we are able to pull something like that off, nothing like it. I think it's a dream come true for every marketer. Then, of course, there are examples from telco. There are examples from e-com. This is the Swiggy example is one of my favorites because not only is Ranveer Brar a very well-known food influencer, but what he's talking about is relevant here. What he's talking about is safety. He's talking about how is it safe enough in a context of COVID to order from Swiggy. And that's something coming from someone like Ranveer Brar will be more believable for me rather than taking it from, say, directly from the brand's mouth. So those are nuances which are thought when we sit together, when you have an influencer who's entrenched into the brand, who's interested in working on the brand. And of course, the way to make that larger than life is through products like branded content ads on Instagram as a platform. In the mid funnel, it's all about specifics. It's all about going deep into a conversation on products, how to use that product, what is unique about that product. And there is no other way to do it better than to use an influencer who's a specialist, an influencer who's seen as someone who is authentic and will give the best advice possible to the consumer. And that's why you see in categories like makeup, in categories like phones, in technology, there's a lot of influencer or creator specialist led conversations which actually drive consideration with the consumer. Here is a great example of Fable Street, and it's actually trying to show an entire portfolio through a small video which they had created with the influencer or the creator in question here. This is another one example of a category which is not that heavily talked about. It's a taboo category in most cases, and we only talk about it when we visit a doctor or visit a very, very serious specialist for that matter. How do you ensure that that category moves from a very medical, a very hygiene led conversation to something which is fun, something which is common, and something which could be openly talked about? And that's where we need influencers, or we need spokesperson who can break those barriers. And this campaign had just done exactly that. They'd opened up that conversation around such a taboo topic, and in fact given an impetus in terms of not only breaking that taboo or the topic on conversation, but also in terms of the sales of the product. So there's an eventual flow down of what happens at top funnel to the bottom funnel as well. And of course, these are other examples. Again, a great example from Oppo India. I love this example because it shows a great combination of how you can take a product feature. So a product feature of a great camera, right? And getting a partnership with a great photographer like Dabu Ratnani and marrying it together. So you're actually showing a specialist using a camera phone for his photography and how is his experience been doing that. So it's a very seamless connection that we can see here, right? I don't think any other celebrity could have done justice to talking about the specific or the USP that the product had. And that's what has built the consideration amongst the consumers for that particular product. And then the last leg of everything, which is purchase. Uh, it's all about ensuring that you provide some kind of outlet or a place for consumers to actually go and get ease of transaction. Here, the example of what Sensodyne has done, and coming from a FMCG lens where we don't have direct transactions, online purchases, this is a very good case in which they had used influencers, and a very innovative way to use influencers as well. While till now we've been talking about influencers in terms of video, we've been talking influencers in terms of stories, this does something different. It takes an AR filter, which the brand had developed, and asks the influencers to use it and then recommend Sensodyne or the product as a solve for the problem that there is. So what they've beautifully done is they've taken a very innovative tech angle, which is using an augmented reality filter, attached it to a very well-known celebrity or very well-known influencer to ensure that people understand visually what does Sensodyne provide, right? The AR filter actually goes and showcases what is Sensodyne's USP, what are the specifics that it gives, and then finally it leads them on to a place where they can actually go and transact and they can go and purchase. So it's a very good combination of all three. And then, of course, the last one is about with Swiggy. And this is around the time where you would want to be contextual. So taking a very topic which is relevant at that point in time and talking about a particular dish, which is biryani in that case, and attaching it to a particular vendor, which Swiggy has very deep relations with, and bringing it all together with an influencer. So an influencer actually talking about partner of the brand gives more credibility to the partner in itself. So while Swiggy is not directly advertising its partner, it's helping the partner gain traction through an influencer which they are working with in this case. And then, of course, the very important part in terms of, and especially for e-commerce industry, when it comes down to sale, right? I mean, at a point in time, I'm sure during the festive season, there will be a minimum 1 or 2 sales going on in all the platforms. And when that happens, for an e-commerce platform to stand out, how does a Myntra decide to differentiate itself? What it does is it takes close to around 500 to 600 influencers and decides to co-create content with them. Instead of creating brand out content, they decide to create the entire library of their content during their sales period only with creators, and they have a product input in that. So there's a plug in which the influencer talks about a particular product, which of course the brand team and the partnership can decide, saying what is it that we would want to promote, what is it that we would like to talk about during the sales season. So it's a perfect example of how there's a business objective around sales and how it can be married to a creative and a influencer content partnership level and bring it all together during the most important season of the month, which is during sales. And the last one, which I will quickly touch upon, is on retention and advocacy. Now, retention and advocacy for some would mean that you continuously keep giving me offers, or you look at me as someone who is deeply engaged with your brand. So you continue to connect with me at all levels. And that's where influencer marketing can work really well. If we take this example of Budweiser India here, I'm sure there will be enthusiasts or beer enthusiasts or in the audience or in our consumer sets, which would have wanted to be part of or continued consuming the product even during a time period like COVID. And at that point in time, what Budweiser did very, very interestingly, and it almost came across as a platform wherein they could talk to their consumers, they could be relevant to their consumers without talking directly about the product, right? They could actually build that, so to say, anticipation to the point where when the pubs, bars, when the social scene opens up, that's when the consumer will still have the brand Budweiser as a top of mind recall when they go into a place where they can consume the product. So it's a way to engage with the consumer on a sustained basis. It's a way to keep them involved with the brand. It's a way to have another voice talk to the consumer instead of the brand continuously, talking to the consumer about it. Of course, then there were other such cases as well, like Stay Free, for example. It was about a more purpose led campaign. And how do you do that in a virtual moment like this? How do you look at starting something which can't touch people on ground, which can't influence them, or which can't, tell them that, yes, I am a brand which stands for so and so, other than just a TVC or other than just an ad creative on the platform? This is where they chose a different route. They chose to talk through somebody rather than directly to the consumer. So while they had their own brand campaigns live, they also had a very heavy influencer leg to it. They had an influencer leg to ensure that it looks genuine, it looks authentic, it looks transparent. So everything, every quality that an influencer can provide to the consumer is something that they banked upon during this campaign. And of course, this all can be done through all the platforms that Instagram has to provide, all the surfaces, starting from your profile to your feed, stories. We have some exciting surfaces like Explore, which are more curated in nature, depending on the consumer's consumption of content. And of course, you have Reels now. And all of this can be utilized for doing branded content and branded content ads as well. And that's where I'll say adieu. I think I've spoken for a good 30-40 minutes. I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions. So over to you, Baisakhi.
Well, that was indeed a very engaging session, and I'm sure that all the attendees today will take with them a lot of insights which they can leverage to amplify their business outcomes with Instagram. So, with that, we move on to our Q&A session. So, the first question that we have from our audience side today is, what business metrics do we use to judge the success of a campaign on Instagram?
So I would say that look at Instagram the same way that you've been looking at Facebook, right? So Instagram as a platform can provide you metrics related to brand, whether that is a brand awareness lift, whether that is a message association lift, whether that is a purchase intent lift. So all of this can be measured on Instagram as well through a brand lift study. Or if you are a performance led company, right? If you are a e-commerce model and you would want to understand how many app installs have I driven through my campaign on Instagram, or how many leads have I got through my campaign on Instagram, we could measure that as well for you. And that is done through a conversion lifts test. So both brand lift test and conversion lift tests are designed to give you the kind of results incrementally that you're getting from each of these campaigns. And other than that, I think there are metrics like cost per click, click through rate, cost per video views, all of that you can get from an ads manager ecosystem. You will definitely be able to get that on Instagram as well. I hope I answered the question.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts. So the next question would be, how do we set KPIs for influencers for better results so that they can get to so that they can go the extra mile to deliver better value during the collaboration?
Absolutely. So I think my answer here would be in two parts. One is when we're collaborating with influencers, I think the first thing that we need to work with them on is the creative integration. A lot of times we see that influencers and brands, when they create content, it either looks like an entirely brand content or it entirely looks like the influencers content. So finding that balance is very, very important. And that can only come when you work with your creative agency, with the brand, as well as the influencer together. Now, how do you measure whether that creative is good or not? The measurability of that creative, whether it is good or bad, comes from the brand lift that it gives to you. So, if it's a great creative, the ad lift or ad recall lift or brand awareness lift that you will see from the branded content ads brand lift study will be in positive. It will be statistically significant. So these are the two things that you need to take care of whenever we are doing a campaign on Instagram with an influencer. The way to judge the influencer's performance is to see what effect did it have on my brand. And the moment it says that yes, I got a brand awareness lift by utilizing an influencer X in ABC way, by creating a stories creative and feed creative, that's the measure that I would like you to maybe consider when you're planning your campaigns next. Because having vanity metrics like engagement rate or organic followership of the influencer does not have any bearing on the brand, right? The brand sees a incremental only when it sees a lift in the campaign results. So that's what you should judge the influencer on as well.
So that answers our second question, and we move on to our next question. So the next question is, how does one find the best influencers in not so much known fields like e-commerce, shopping, and home buying?
Sure, and thanks for asking that question. I'm not sure uh, who the person is, but I would definitely want to thank them because that's something that we deal with day in and day out, right? When Instagram or any platform you see, influencers also slot themselves into certain uh, categories which are more public, right? Which have more depth. So it's very difficult for us to differentiate an influencer who is just about shopping or who is just about, say, consumer durables or who is just about a very specific niche category. Where I would suggest you should look or you could think of while strategizing on choosing influencers is different type. Let me take that same example of what Hyundai Aura did. Right now, being a car model which is launched in the hatchback section, all they had to do was by logic gone after only automotive influencers. Right, even that is a niche category by any standards. So in that sense, what will happen is that niche category will only give you reach and scale till a point. But what about those consumers who are not automotive enthusiasts but are definitely looking to buy a car, right? There might be youngsters who have just gotten a new job or a promotion and are looking at new models of cars, and they are influenced by maybe a fashion influencer or they are maybe influenced by a youth icon. So it's always a good strategy to have one core group of influencers which is akin to your category, and then have one or two more popular categories which can help you reach out to more such consumers who are not really that either tech savvy or any other particular niche enthusiast. So that would be my suggestion to you whenever you think of choosing or shortlisting influencers.
Great, great. So we would move on to, I guess we have time to take two more questions. So I'll move on to the fourth question. That is, influencers are often categorized as macro influencers and micro influencers. So, what are the best ways to determine which level of influencer would fit best for a brand?
Sure, and that's a very nuanced question. I must say, the person who's asked this question has already delved and is experienced in influencer marketing. So let me put it the other way around. So when you're deciding on your marketing plan and objective, you do it at a national level, and then you do it at a market level or a regional level. Same way, you should think about influencers as well. So when you're thinking of a campaign at a national level, you definitely have to go in with influencers which have at least somewhat a pan India presence, right? You cannot go in with very small niche but great tech influencers and then reach out to a mass public who will not know the influencer. So that is something that you should avoid. You should definitely go with known faces with a certain followership, with a certain interaction rate is what we call it. How that interaction rate is judged is that that interaction rate should be consistent for an influencer. So these are 2 3 metrics that you can look at while deciding on influencers. And definitely for a national level campaign, look at larger influencers who have pan India presence. And as you go deeper into markets, into regions, and this is very specific to say South, right? South has a huge industry which has its own celebrities, which has its own influencers. And you should probably try to partner with them rather than taking someone who works at maybe a North India or a West India level and force fit them into a region like South. Same goes for East India as well. And I would suggest you to look at it in these 2 layers. One is national and another one is regional level. And that's how you will define your macro and micro also. The more smaller region wise you go, the more micro your influencer size will get. And the larger your campaigns are at a national or at maybe a regional level, the more larger a macro your influencer should be. I hope that helps.
Yeah. So with that, we move on to our last question for the session. So the last question goes, do you think the disclosure of the sponsored content, for instance, sponsorship transparency, has had a positive impact or effect on the behavior of the target audience, especially the young users of Instagram?
Sure. And I would love to answer that question. And I get this question day in and day out whenever we go ahead and talk about the paid partnership tag. So, first off, let me say that we have 2 studies. One is, of course, a Facebook study, the second is a Harvard School study, which clearly says that when this paid partnership tag is displayed, there is no negative impact. So that means that the consumer is already well aware of the fact that you are partnering with an influencer and this is a paid partnered or paid partnership content that I'm seeing. So there's no way to fool the consumer, simply put, right? The second thing that the Harvard study says is that there is no difference between the way a consumer is seeing your brand ad versus what it is seeing with your influencer. So net there is no negative. Of course the positive comes from I think the way we work with the influencers. So if it ends up looking like an endorsement, I think it will be perceived as an ad. But the moment it looks like a product fit, like a makeup tutorial or a demo of a phone which is just launched, or talking about something which the influencer is interested in its category, and there is of course a combination of product with it, then that's the synergy that makes it better. And of course that will definitely give you better results. From our own experience at Facebook and what we've done in the past 2 years with branded content ads, we have definitely seen that in consideration phases, right? When you're talking about product specifics, when you're talking about a USP of a product, that's where influencer marketing has the maximum amount of positive effect.
So, with this, we come to the end of our session. To sum up, as we keep navigating this digital age, social media and influencer marketing will keep on getting bigger and play a more crucial role in telling every brand story and building authentic connections with their audience. So, I would like to thank you, Ms. Rajinder. It was indeed a pleasure to have you with us today. And last but not the least, a big thank you to our amazing audience for your active participation. We wish you safety and the best of health. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you, Baisakhi. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day ahead.